Social Security, which was the hot item last night. Richard Fowler's on the live line with us right now. Richard is the director of Constructs, a political communications firm, of course. And Richard, did you see the debate last night?
I did see the debate last night.
So give me your quick analysis. Winners, losers, who came out on top?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I think, Mitt Romney did what he needed to do last night. He showed himself that not only is he, I wouldn't say moderate, but he seemed to be the only sensible candidate last night. I think we heard, obviously, Rick Perry made the reference to, Social Security being a Ponzi scheme. Michelle Bachmann was a one-trick pony with her, we need to repeal Obamacare. And the rest of the candidates are just sort of in the background. I definitely think it was Mitt's night last night. I think Democrats should be very happy that Mitt shined through. We're waiting for Mitt Romney in the general election. And even if we don't get Mitt Romney, I think Rick Perry also proved a point that, he's quite bizarre, to say the least.
All right, let me reintroduce my guest co-host for the morning. Dory Collins is in the studio with us as well. And I saw parts of the debate last night. That was the best exchange when both Governor Perry and former Governor Mitt Romney discuss social. You know what is interesting? I'm listening to Mitt Romney say social. He says Social Security. I say Social Security. What is the proper word? Because I have a hard time saying it, but it was interesting hearing him say it over and over last night. But this wound up being the best exchange of the night. I thought Mitt Romney did well. I thought he was the only one who came off as being presidential in the way he not only talked about issues, but in his solution-based strategy for some of the problems that he thinks that we're facing right now. Rick Perry seems to be going for, and he even said it, the provocative dialogue that is playing to his base down in Texas. Richard?
No, I think you're completely right. I think, Rick Perry's dialogue was very provocative last night. The question is how will it resonate with the voters and how it resonate with Republican voters that have not picked a candidate yet? I think he definitely clearly has the Tea Party base, but there's a lot of Republicans that are still fishing for candidates. And, we're not really sure if Rick Perry will be able to pull that off or pull off those wins. I mean, if you break it down into primary politics, I think Rick Perry does pretty well in Iowa, loses New Hampshire. He probably picks up South Carolina, but this is going to come down to my home state of Florida. And in Florida, I just don't see how Rick Perry can make a comment about Social Security and Medicare and win with those seniors down there.
Yeah, but he's got Texas. Isn't that all that matters? He's got
only in Rick Perry's eyes. And with that being said, I got to tell you, man, and I've been talking about this a lot. There's a lot of Democrats that have been tooting the same horn on this one, and it's pretty simple. The only reason why Rick Perry's created 1 million jobs in Texas is because he took Obama's stimulus money, and a third of those jobs he created in Texas are jobs that are government jobs, not the jobs that he claims to create. These are government jobs. So they talk about why they want small government, they want government out of your life, but yet he created more government jobs in Texas, and to no avail because Texas is still the 50th state when it comes to health care. It's the 50th state when it comes to education.
And also they're the number one state when it comes to putting people to death.
That too.
And Brian Williams put that point out there. I thought also what was interesting is, now here's a guy who talks about spending and that Obama is spending way too much money, and then at the same time he says we need 1,000 federal troops down there or employees down there to protect the border. So he's asking for more boots on the ground in Texas, yet he's complaining about spending money. What does he think? These 1,000 employees are going to be volunteers that the country's not going to have to pay for them? So he definitely showed some inconsistencies. Dory, what were your thoughts about the debate last night?
Well, first of all, I have to strongly say I don't qualify to be a Republican. So, first of all, I think, in terms of resonating anything that was well said, I definitely agree with a lot of the things that Romney had to say. What's going to be key here is how many Republicans are going to, back him, because he's sounding more Democratic to me with some of the statements that he made.
Yeah, really also I thought that Rick Perry did not do a good job with his rhetoric. He was off balance. He came off too top-heavy, too provocative with his statements, and he didn't get an opportunity I think, to spell out any policies that he wanted to correct or even talk about strategies on how he was going to correct it. Also, I was disappointed. I don't know about you guys, but I was disappointed in Herman Cain. I was really looking forward to Herman Cain having a good debate. And last night I thought he fell flat. Unlike he did not have his Alan Keyes moment. Alan Keyes, when he ran for president, was always very good in the debates. Now, he was crazy as hell outside of that, but he was always very good in his analysis of problems and how he was going to correct problems. Last night, Cain did not do a good job of talking about how he would change things. He just said, we need new leadership. We need strategies to do this, that, and the other, and didn't get into any specifics. Were you guys disappointed? What did you think about Herman Cain, Richard?
Well, I got to tell you, Matt, I think one thing that we did glean from Herman Cain, I believe I tweeted this last night, was his 9-9-9 strategy, where, 9% sales, 9%. 9% sales, 9% income, and 9%, I forgot what the other tax was. Mm-hmm. But it just seems very confusing to me. And at the end of the day, I think he definitely, in the spin room right after the debate, he definitely got walloped with a lot of questions. So you have this 999 thing. Doesn't this disproportionately affect the poor? And he's like, well, no, that's not true. And, I just found Herman Cain to be sort of off in the Chilean model. I don't understand, mind you. I have good friends from Chile. I have an uncle from Chile. But I'm not really sure if the United States wants to follow the Chilean model of, fixing our Social Security or Medicare problems. To be perfectly honest, I think Social Security and Medicare are some of the easiest problems that we have to fix in our country. I mean, it's pretty simple, Matt. All we have to do is raise the cap on the amount of money that's taxed for Social Security and Medicare. Right now, it's at about $250,000. If we raise that cap to $1 million, we would have solved our Social Security issue. Republicans are trying to make this big, Hail Mary football. We're never going to fix this problem. And that's just not true. And so I really think that what we will see hopefully tonight from the president is the president getting at them and saying, listen, you guys are making all these fallacies, and you guys are living in a hypocritical world because you guys want spending for defense. You guys want spending, like you said earlier, for Rick Perry's 1,000 more boots on the ground to deal with this immigration issue, but you guys are not willing to have a real conversation about how we fix our revenue in Washington.
And the fact of the matter is Republicans have been in control of the House and have yet to come out with a jobs bill. And last night you heard more rhetoric and without any substance to it. But I do think, however, that Mitt Romney, especially coming out with his 59-point plan on how he's going to turn the economy around, had the advantage because he came out with a plan the day before the debate. And last night he did seem more solution-oriented than just rhetoric around the fringe.
No, you're completely right. And I think Dory might agree with me that, Mitt Romney came off as being, like you said, quote-unquote Democratic. But I think it's less of being quote-unquote Democratic, and it's more and more we're seeing Mitt Romney come to the center a little bit because he realizes that not only does he have to win the primary, but he has to win the general election. And he's going to have problems in states like North Carolina, states like Virginia, states like Ohio, and states like Florida if he continues to go farther to the right. So he has to triangulate himself and seem like the most credible out of all the candidates and seem the most, I could see him being a leader. He did a really good job of isolating and talking to young people throughout the debate, and all of those pieces will be very helpful. And if he is, the nominee for Republican president against Barack Obama. Now, I think it's really too early to tell that he can beat Barack Obama. A lot of people are calling this race, Barack Obama's beatable now. And I think the jury's still out on that. It's way too early. It's way too early to start campaigning. I don't think the president starts campaigning until this November, where he has 12 months to campaign. And I think, the job speech that the president will give tonight will be a really big indicator on where this White House is going. But from the debate last night, you can conclude that Mitt Romney is like, I'm still the front runner. He sort of did a really good job of punching holes through the Rick Perry, this Rick Perry balloon that has sort of taken off ever since, the Ames straw poll. And, it's a two-man race now, I think, with Michelle Bachmann being out of it. And, I've been on the show before, and I talk about how much out of all the Republican candidates I'd love to have as nominee, I would love to have Michelle Bachmann. I think Michelle Bachmann, while she looked great last night, was definitely out of it a little bit. I mean, only thing she said was Obamacare, repeal Obamacare, and repeal Obamacare.
And people are getting tired of that conversation. We'll talk about the losers when we come back. Richard Fowler, our guest, Dory Collins, my guest co-host, 720. Tony's coming up with traffic and weather on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM WVON.
As your morning commute continues, so does